New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Welcome to Ministers Talking a weekly program where Rev BRZ and Rev Z and their guests chat about current affairs, world events, spiritual principles, and any old they want to talk about. Based on the New Thought philosophy and ancient wisdoms, Ministers Talking shares a visionary perspective of the evolving spiral called spiritual living. Join us each week as we explore the emerging paradigm of life on planet Earth and beyond.
And hello again, dear ones. Rev BRZ over here with you.
Rev Z right here.
And Laura right here.
all the way from the other side of the pond, all the way on the other side in the UK.
This pond everyone keeps talking about. I'd like to see it. Where is this pond?
We're ministers talking shit and we're already started. So that's not. I was always taught that was a British phrase.
I think it is. It's just that
Okay.
I'm intrigued where that came from. It's the sea.
They call it a pond because they say it's a small seed, maybe. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, that's true. It's a small pond. Yeah.
It's just a hop, skip, and a jump over there, right?
Yes.
Right on. Folks, thanks for joining us today. This is Ministers Talking Shit. We come together every Friday morning, 7 a.m. on the Mountain Time Zone. Rev Z and I are very blessed and happy and excited, and we've been having a good old time prepping for today's show because our special guest is Laura Topper, all the way from the UK. If you don't know, Laura is an integral part of our ministry here. As is Rev Z, and so it's kind of like this is almost like a staff meeting, isn't it?
Yeah. And they're just chopping it up, getting ready for all of the excitement of the day.
Exactly. So Z, why don't you fill everybody in? What have we been chatting about this morning, and where are we taking this?
I mean, we've been kind of all over the globe, if you will, no pun intended. But we talked a little bit about the new mask mandate that is possibly coming out in the U.S., making it mandated or suggested, or however they want to phrase it, that N95s and KN95s and some version of the 95 mask be worn as opposed to cloth masks or surgical masks as the Omicron rises. We talked about the Queen and that she hasn't been seen for quite some time, since October, and now there's all kind of speculation and conspiracy theories, if you will, around that and what that means and so forth. Talked a little bit about voters' rights. Over here in the U.S., there's this whole thing about voters' rights of how you can vote and what kind of ID you need, and President Biden was trying to flip that, but it's tied to some filibuster bill. And so now no one wants to pass the filibuster. So now the voters' right thing may not pass. It's always been weird to me. Why don't you just put the bill by itself? Why is it tied to something? But those are just some of the things we talked about. I mean, there's so much going on. Good thing is there's not a whole lot of deaths. I mean, there was something down in North Carolina with a off-duty cop, I think. A guy supposedly jumped on his car and he shot him. I mean, but not too much of that going on. But not that we want to minimize any of it.
Well, let's start with the easy stuff. Laura, is the Queen alive or is she dead?
Yeah, she's in my room next door.
Okay.
Yeah, she's fine. Oh well, I mean, I can't answer that question. I mean, I saw her on her Christmas Day, you know, the speech that she always gives at 3:00 here around the world now online, and she looked alive. But you know, we just don't know what the real situation is, because everything is there behind closed doors. The way they operate, the way they live their lives, it's like a secret society. So she could be. And the piece that we were talking about, or that I mentioned before that, was how you know, everyone here in the UK right now is up in arms because of the lockdown parties that have been going on last year with the government, just as the Queen, or as her husband, Prince Philip, passed away and transitioned. So everyone's a little bit angry. It's like double standard thing going on. Yeah.
We don't get all of that news, but I've started to see some of that. And folks, if you're not aware, as England was being literally last year being thrust into the lockdown, and everybody's and nobody knows, it was mostly Parliament, I believe, right? It was just ripping it up, laughing and partying and throwing them back, and it's not a good look. So I guess there's the easier question: are your politicians as corrupt and idiotic as ours?
Well, I think that there are agendas everywhere, you know, with all of them. I don't follow politics to the T. And I find it difficult to say, oh, I'm a conservative, or I'm a liberal, or I'm Labour, because ultimately, when you vote for one person, they're going to change their mandates. And, you know, it's not always going to be what you initially think you're voting for. I think that they get away with stuff. And they're calling these parties Partygate. So, but what's happened is, and this is where I'm really coming back to principle, like, because I know if I look at everything through that view of principle and our principles, science of mind principles, then I'm knowing this is all perfectly unfolding, and that this is God too expressing, and this is, you know, this is the underworld coming out, and something here has to be healed from this situation. So it's just bringing everything to the light, and hopefully that this could make the government here more transparent. They have to kind of show up more transparently, and this could be a good thing, because I think there are all these secret societies and clubs and all sorts of men's clubs, women's clubs. It's a bit like the Masonic kind of thing, you know, secret handshake here and there. Yeah.
I'm so glad we don't do that stuff. I can never remember the secret handshake thing anyway. So
it's that.
There we go. It's that. Yeah. See, but I don't get that one right.
It's love.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. The other day, Robert and I was talking about this new movie out on Netflix called Don't Look Up.
I've seen it.
And what, you know, when we look at what's going on, you know, it's an art imitating life, or life imitating art kind of approach. But when we look at what's going on, whether it's, you know, all the stuff about the parties going on in the UK, or about all of the finagling that people are doing here in the US on this voters' rights stuff, on how to restrict, especially as we get ready to go into the midterm elections. You know, people are jostling and making statements about who can vote, why they can't vote, and all of that. You begin to see this, at least I do. I think there begins to emerge some kind of pattern of this elitism that people involve in at these higher level of government, and it does become like a secret society. There's a Supreme Court, well, not Supreme Court. There's a federal judge that's trying to get appointed. I think it's in Tennessee, and he had a couple of speeding tickets. He didn't pay him, forgot to pay him, whatever. We all have speeding tickets. And then this congressperson was up there railing against him. And then they brought out the fact that, her driver was stopped speeding, trying to take her to the airport, and she flashed her congressional pen and they let her go. Equivalent to the secret handshake. Oh yeah, I'm the Congress. I can break this law. Don't worry about it. But she's railing on this guy who wasn't in Congress for getting the ticket.
Right.
Such double standard.
Yes.
But they should just have a big button that says I'm better than you are. Right? Like
with a question mark.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, with a question mark.
Oh my God. But that's the challenge we have now. We are getting separated into this haves and have-nots, this elite and non-elite. And one thing we talked about before is this whole thing about the mass resignation of people leaving jobs, and because they're caught up in this thing, and they're people are saying for many reasons, but one of them I believe is I'm tired of the rat race. I'm tired of playing by the rules and going through all of this, and it seems like I'm not being rewarded as I was promised or I was told. And so I will right now check out and see what I can do on my own, see how I can navigate this system, because I think I got some good insights and I'm going to navigate.
Yeah. I remember in 2016 reading a book, or I'm sorry, in 2006 reading a book. I forget the author's name, but the book was 10 Million Millionaires. And the premise of the book was that over the coming 10 years, America would create 10 million new millionaires. Now, I never followed up to find out if that actually happened. And he was pointing directly to network marketing and independent entrepreneurial business efforts. I agree with you. I think a lot of people have woken up to, and we're seeing that right now here in Colorado. There's a grocery workers strike and labor dispute going on. And you can see right through some of the big companies' tactics and some of the way they're manipulating the media to try to make the company look good and make the workers look ungrateful. And it's all this, it seems to be a shell game in a lot of ways when we look at the surface of it all, right?
And do you think that, with COVID happening and people being online, people turning more profoundly to spiritual practice and realizing their own autonomy and making that concerted, that choice to come away from the matrix, to do as you're saying, Rev Z, and to be in their own power, create their own businesses, their own passion projects, dive into what really matters for humanity, rather than just being a part of TikTok because it's not, feeding their heart, because we've been given this message that life in our body as we know it here is short. And so we're all questioning that. I'm questioning that. Well, what am I going to do for the next 40 years? Am I going to work for this person and be unhappy? Or am I going to do something that really excites me? And I think that's what has happened.
And it's so funny you bring up TikTok. I go through, I had to open an account once just to see what it was. And then I'm like, okay, this is crazy. I'm getting off.
Oh, TikTok. I meant the clock. You mean the social media.
I mean, yeah. You put me to the TikTok app. And because, and it's in sync because a lot of the things that I saw anyway, and I'm sure there's a lot more, it was this multiple people, different people doing the exact same thing, doing the same little dances to the same old songs with a different background. One person has one, somebody got three doing. I mean, it's like, really?
Yeah, right. All those same little ditties. And
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
no, and it. I'm with you. See, it was all the same. And I've seen something new recently because I think TikTok now. So here's the good at TikTok, right, folks? I think TikTok is helping to pull back that curtain. Because what I'm seeing more of is, hi, puppy. It doesn't take but a second for those grocery store workers and fast food workers and other workers to go, this is how bad it is, folks. This is what your chili looks like.
Mm-hmm.
This is the real cost of fast casual food. This is the real cost of slave wages labor. This is what you're really considering. And so it's like TikTok's almost become like the ultimate social justice machine, really. And I never saw that either. I saw a bunch of teenagers going, I don't need this. I'm a 50. Me watching a bunch of dancing teenagers, that's not proper. So, it's like, but there's now this other section of it emerging.
Yeah.
I need to check it out.
Yeah, well, and here's, from my perspective, as you were talking earlier, in terms of spiritual principle, I think, for those of us that are really, buying the motto of a world that works for everyone, excuse me, we are beginning now to look at what are the real inner workings of a happy and successful life. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Is it being on TikTok, or is it, being on ET or ZT or any of these other celebrity shows that come on and talk about the dress somebody wore or the car they drove up into the red carpet, and then, they have all this stuff, this clickbait stuff that gets you into this celebrity kind of thing, and it's like, okay, that's fun for a while. I click every once in a while. I see somebody I like, trying to figure out, where they come from. But if you get too stuck into it, you can lose hours out of your day.
Oh yeah.
And now your life is frantic because of the things you need to really do haven't got done. Mm-hmm. And so we have to find a principle that says, it's all connected. Be specific, have a focus, have a vision, and don't get sucked into somebody else's drama.
Or dream.
Yeah.
Because that's really true what you've just been saying about watching other people, because we can get sucked into it. I've done it. I've watched Hollywood Wives. The thing is, it's like, then there's that kind of place where, oh, am I doing this because I think I need that, and then inadequacy comes and we belittle ourselves. Yeah. I get to that. So there's an invitation to love our own lives and really go for it with our own lives, whatever we're doing, because that other person that we're watching has got their own heap of baggage also going on. They're not showing all of that on these programs and on,
Yes.
Oh.
And even if they are, it's painful stuff. Painful to see somebody live purposely, out of control with drink or drugs, and watching that suffering.
And the other thing about it, if they show it too often or often enough, then people begin to think that's norm. That's how life really is. So they go out and say, well, they do it on Housewives or this, that, or the other show. So I can be belligerent in a restaurant and throw water on somebody and call them all kind of names and, tip around with this one and that one. And it really begins to plant a seed in the public's mind that these things are now normal.
Yeah.
If we're gonna, for me, I keep hearing that same piece, the same drum beat. This is that ego piece, wanting its day, wanting its due, wanting the. I think of a lot of these TikTokers. They hit a good move. They hit a good 6-second video and they're famous. It's instant celebrity, and they get bombarded with interview requests and this and that. And you see them on TV, and they look like. And sometimes they're in a crappy T-shirt, didn't even brush. It's like, and now they're instant celebrity, and they don't know what to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
And
yes,
because it's not who they are, and it's not what they. And so there is, I think, a danger to this overt desire to feed that ego piece. And this is where we get the politicians thinking they're above it all and can act with impunity and say what they and lie with impunity. And this is where guys like Sean Hannity and others and other pundits just outright lie, texting one thing while they're saying the other thing to the public. No, folks, everything's fine. And in their phone, they're like, what the is going on? And that is, to me, that's all part of that apparent the misbelief that I got to get mine in order to be able to help anybody else. That if I'm not at 120%, I can't give a percentage or two to help other people, to be part of the global vision.
Yeah, and I think one of the visions, if you will, for 2022. People come up with all these sayings for the new year, myself included. But I think from what I've seen so far in these first almost half of a month, tomorrow we're halfway to January. Look like we just had New Year's last week, and so part of 2022, I think, is about finding balance in our individual lives, in our lives, and our global climate lives. However, we have to find balance in our lives, and that's number one. The number two is we have to do some real soul searching, and that I don't think anybody has ever seen a one-sided coin. There's always two sides to the coin. And that whole concept of embracing your shadow, we all got shadow stuff, everybody. But when you act like you don't, or as they used to say in the country, if you act like your stuff don't smell, then you're sadly mistaken. And the moment you can begin to embrace that and understand that it is a balancing act and an evolutionary upliftment that we're striving for, then we can get beyond some of this craziness, I believe.
Yeah, and that's really interesting what you've just said about the shadow, because it's almost as if we're now being invited to really delve into the collective shadow. And that's all this stuff is happening so that together we can say, right, we need to we need to find this balance together, collectively as community. Yes. We don't have to be on our own trying to work all of this out. We can join heart to heart together. And, people like Marianne Williamson, who I just think she's amazing. And what she did running for presidency, that takes courage.
Oh, yeah.
To step out with a spiritual message and philosophy and idea and say, this is the way. I hope she does. I hope she keeps running for that and doesn't just give up because it didn't happen once or twice. I think, maybe 10 times, and maybe she could be there, or somebody, could.
Yeah.
And if nothing else, she's inspiring the future generations that are those young women that are right now going, what do I want to do with my life?
Yeah.
I could get into politics.
Right.
Yeah.
I got a 16-year-old that's constantly reminding me how effed up my generation is leaving the planet. This and that, the other thing, and my response is consistent. Hey, at least we got you guys to fix it all. We got you. At least the planet's got you to be conscious enough and aware enough that you want to do it differently, and you want to make sure there's changes, and you don't want to perpetuate these things.
Right.
And in this philosophy, I've long been taught there is always a spiritual solution to every human problem, because the problem is only at the level of our thinking and our perception of it.
And that's the effect.
Right. So we come together. So here we are, folks, on Friday mornings, we come together and we look at what seems to be the problems in the world and look to find, what's a spiritual principle operating behind that? How can I flip that script all puns are intended. Don't believe Z when he tells you they're not. All puns are intended. How do we flip the script on what we're creating, or what's being created in the world, to move more towards that world that works for everyone?
Yeah,
that's where we get to play.
Yeah, and you know, I would encourage everyone who has not seen that movie, Don't Look Up, to go and watch it, because it gives a good visual of what happens when we get so caught up in the superficial things of life, trying to be popular, trying to be the leader of the party, trying to be the the person out front. And there's nothing wrong with that, because we need some good people out there. We do need entertainment and all those things. It's not that we don't need those. The problem becomes insurmountable when that's where we put all our focus. We want to be out front, even if we don't have the ability to be out front or the skills to do that, or get sidetracked on all these things, when real matters, people's lives, livelihoods, are being threatened, are being taken away, and we look at it as it's normal.
So would you say that, I'm just throwing this out there, that movie, you know, it could be about COVID. It could be about anything. It could be about how Parliament are handling any catastrophe that is the way she just, my dinner dates are more important than this right now.
Yep.
The kind of blindsiding of what is happening. Talk about spiritual bypass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's fiction either, folks.
No.
There's an incident. I'll tell this real quick, 30 seconds. There's an incident here in Colorado. A young man a year or so ago lost his brakes on a major hill. Major truck accident, killed 4 people. You may have heard about this. He was found guilty and sentenced to 110 years in prison. It was a public outrage, and it was, I think, one of the Kardashians, but it was a celebrity that was, kind of pining, and we should be nice to this guy and give him leniency and all this. And eventually, after some consideration, Governor Polis, the governor of Colorado, did grant some clemency to this young man and reduced his sentence. Now, he's still going to spend a lot of time in jail for the lives that he took. And however, they commuted his sentence, made it much smaller. The next day, a reporter asks the governor if he had spoken with whoever, the celebrity, about all this. And his response was kind of like, no. Why would I turn to a public entertainer for public policy about a legal case that's in my state when she lives in California? Why would I talk to the Kardashians before I do this? That's part of it, right? I agree. Celebrities deserve the reward for the work they do, but it does not make them a public opinion. That doesn't make them a politician. Doesn't make them. We shouldn't have to check in with what Cardi B thinks on every, or what Nicki Minaj thinks about anything going on in politics. If they'd like to get involved, like Marianne did, and like Marianne Williams did, and move away from her traditional career and what she was doing in the world to actually get involved and start taking action and being with people and learning the system, then that's another story.
Yeah. And in some ways, I can't say for all the Kardashians, but definitely for Kim Kardashian. I think she's finished law school and she's preparing to take the bar. Because she is looking at prison rights, or has looked at prison rights, and that kind of thing. But I agree 1,000% is that we always hear, if you're an entertainer, then and you're making all this money and whatever, use that platform for some other goods. And it seems like she may be trying to lean in that way. But that's one out of I don't know how many. And we need more. They have the money, they have the time, they have the media attention. Make some statements. I mean, if we go to Colin Kaepernick, Colin Kaepernick did that at the expense of his NFL career. Right. And once he made the bold stand, he was a young man. He should have been playing in the NFL now, but because of his stand and his commitment, they blackballed him. He didn't play the game the way they wanted to be played. And I'm sure he got some good money out of the NFL when they did that settlement that he said he still wanted to play, but he was like, I'll take it. I'm out.
Folks.
Wow.
From the Queen to Kim Kardashian to Colin Kaepernick to Musk and beyond. This is Ministers Talking Shit, and this is often what it looks like. So thank you so much for being with us. I do want to give a quick shout out to our friend Linda. Linda made note that Marianne's been working to get the Department of Peace established for quite a long time. Yes, I my mind wants to say that Dennis Kucinich had a piece in that too, and I think it was Marianne that gave the idea to Kucinich originally. She's been getting involved in politics for a long time, actually. Yeah. Just finally stepped in front of the camera, as it were. So, all right, folks, we love you. We thank you. We've got a full day here on New Thought Media Network. We're going to say we're going to run our thank you video on the way out because we're running long today. But before we do that, I would definitely want to give everybody a chance at final thoughts. We'll go Laura first and then Z. Final thoughts for the day.
Final thoughts. Know that love is here and that you are loved. And be that love. Express it. Be kind to somebody. Smile to somebody. Go out of your way to do something to be kind and helpful. And if we're all doing that every day, what an amazing change we're going to make on this planet for our lives and others.
Yeah. And I think one of the ways that we make that is to embrace our shadows so that we love our whole selves and find the balance in our lives so that we can have empathy and action all at the same time.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Folks, for me today, I'm wearing it. Remember, deeply we are one, and anything that tries to tell you differently, don't believe it. We are one. We love you.
Amen.
We're going to say thank you. Until next time. Peace.
Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, for your continued support. Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown Atlanta, for your monthly contribution. Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, for your monthly contribution. And please help us welcome Om Center for Spiritual Living in La Mesa, California. Thank you for your monthly donation. Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, for your most generous donation. And a special thanks to Hefferland Foundation for your generous technology grant. And Suze Ajit, thank you for your very generous donation. And a big shout out to all our committed donors.
And thanks for listening to this week's episode of Ministers Talking. We'll be back again next week with more commentary on current affairs, world events, and any other our ministers want to talk about. And if you found value here, please share our with your friends. Until next time, peace and blessings.